obviously getting this late night gig, which is so different than your show because it's like a fake game show and it's, like a reimagining of At Midnight. And there were a lot of people because we did so much press after it was announced before we were actually doing the show. And so I did all these interviews where people like weren't totally sure what it was, or like a lot of people online when it came out were like, we thought this was a talk show and CBS screwed Taylor Tomlinson. And I'm like, we were never doing a talk show, everybody. Like I tour on the weekends. Like I'm not going to do a show Monday through Friday. It's funny because people keep saying like, oh, it's your show. And I'm like, it's really not. Like this is like, if anything, our show. Like it's such a great team of people. And it's why I wanted to do the show because I wanted to like have these coworkers. It was like, I'm like, I want to have fun with all these people and make a new thing every day. But like, they were asking me questions like, so when you designed the set, I'm like, I designed the set. And they're like, when you're booking the show, I'm like, I don't book the show. They're like, well, when you hired the writers, I'm like, I didn't hire the writers and I want them to like me so bad. I'm like, I can't take credit for anything about this show. I don't dress myself. Like I show up, someone does my hair and makeup, they put me in clothes. I'm like an American Girl doll that they just kind of cart around. Like I'm like, everyone on that show, I think probably has a harder job than I do.
First of all, there's so many things I can relate to, which is I was the same age as you when I started my show. And they were very different shows, but it's still that thing of, I remember first of all, your experience was doing stand-up, which is very solitary. And the thing I always wanted was I wanted a pirate ship with my fellow pirates. I always wanted that. And I had it in ways when I worked on Saturday Night Live or The Simpsons. I loved that we're all in this together, but it wasn't my pirate ship. And then I just loved having these people and like you got these writers, and I just so wanted them, because no one knew who I was. I wanted them to think I was funny, the writers. So I would do bits for them all the time. I worked harder trying to make the writers laugh than on anything for the show, because I really wanted those people to think that, oh yeah, no, he's okay. He's all right. Which was so screwy because I was supposedly the host of the show. Right. But I understand that wanting to be, or how nice it is to have a group. It must feel good after all those, all that time on the road where it's just you and a microphone. Yeah. And also like, I don't know if you felt this way. I mean, you were using cue cards, right? Yep. Okay. We have a teleprompter. It's like a little computer and they type out. It's like a cue card, but it's like some machine. Kind of, like a machine. Yeah. I never had a teleprompter ever. Never? No, because we changed things too much at the last second. And so we always did cards. And so we changed things in the teleprompter. It's easier to just type it in, right? Yeah. Jesus, they lied to me. They said, well, that'll can't happen on a prompter. I think it was they just didn't want to buy one. It was NBC and then Turner. They just didn't want to buy a prompter. Yeah, because I still have my Conan cue card because they give it to you when you do a late night show, which was very nice. We want it back, by the way. Those things aren't cheap. Well, now I know how hard it was. They're like, we got to cut a whole new one because you don't like that line. Every time we wrote a new joke, a tree fell in the forest somewhere. When I did like the screen test and everything, and even when I started doing the show, everyone's like so impressed when you can read a teleprompter to a point where I was like, do people think I'm dumb? Like, I know I didn't finish college, but not like you, I didn't finish Harvard. You know what I mean? Right. But and I studied telepromptering. Yeah. But everyone was just like, it's really hard. Some people don't know how to read teleprompters. And I was like, okay, like I'll take any credit you'll give me. But this was, again, I was like so nervous about it. I was practicing reading teleprompters on TikTok. Local news anchors will do like, now for a teleprompter challenge. And so I was just reading like 5-car pileup on today's freeway, like, but in a funny way. I'm like, pretend like it's the show. And like, let's see how fast you can read it. There's all these little things. And then there's the big thing. Yeah. So there's all the little things that, yes, that I think anyone can learn. It just takes a little time, but you just learn the stuff about getting new information, getting information off a card or off a prompter, and which cameras are where and where your single is. Those are things I think that anyone can pick up. And then there's the much bigger thing, which is how to be you in a very strange environment. I've always thought that is the thing that no one's thinking about, is the advice you get, and the advice, this is the biggest name drop of all time for my generation anyway, but just before I started, I got to meet Johnny Carson, and he knew that I was going to be taking over the late night show. And he said, just be yourself. And I was like, okay. And then I did the show for a couple of months and no one liked it. And I always pictured that Johnny Carson would call me and say, I didn't know that was you.
Have you tried being me?
Could you maybe find someone else to be me? But I always realized that it's more complicated than just be yourself, because it's just be yourself in the most artificial environment in the world, which is 3, 2, 1, and Taylor, go!
Yeah.
And prompter and lights and music and okay, now we're going to these people and this is going to happen. And it just took me a long time to realize, oh, this is the skill, is I need to figure out how can I just be this person that I am. I didn't want to be a fake person. I wanted to be a real person, but in a freakish environment.
Yeah.
And that's what those things are.
Yeah. No, I mean, I say to the live audience we have in studio sometimes, because I'll be like playing off the comedians we have on the show, and then I have to go to the next game, which is me reading the teleprompter. And so we're like, oh yeah, it's great. And then I go, all right, I have to go back into teleprompter again. And I know it's going to feel jarring to just be like, and yeah, totally. And we know each other. In today's internet news, and it just feels so, but you're like, okay, just everyone I know too, and it's gonna cut together great. Like, just it's very strange, and figuring out how to deliver jokes I didn't write, because I'm just not used to that. I've been writing my own jokes for like 10 years, 14 years on the road, and like that is me. So it's not hard to be myself on stage doing stand-up. But yeah, in this environment, like it is very easy to read jokes that were written for me by a room full of very funny people, but yeah, it's also hard to deliver them in a way that feels authentic.